Welcome to Sport on 5. My name is Sophie Blake and we have a varied night for you tonight with boxing, the Indy Racing League and the Laureate Sports Awards. And we're off to the oval speedways of the USA for Indy Racing League and the Radisson 225 from Fountain, Colorado.
2003. In a year dominated by speed, 5 races have produced 5 different winners. Capped by a Texas shootout last weekend that generated yet another dramatic finish and vaulted a racing legend, Al Unser Jr., back into the points chase. Today, the world's fastest cars come to the Rocky Mountains. Indy 500 champion Gilles de Ferran won here a year ago. And once again, a host of gladiators battle for that honor. The drama unfolds here in the Rockies in only minutes.
Sports. It's live. Live it.
In the Colorado Mountains this week for the second Indy Racing League battle in the space of 8 days. We've had 5 winners from 5 races, but who'll conquer the rarefied atmosphere of Pikes Peak International Raceway? This is round 6, the Honda Indy 225. Good evening, and yes, the Indy Racing League is in the thick of its schedule with 3 races in 4 weeks. What a race we had in the small hours of last Saturday, and a famous victory for a man everyone said was over the hill. That is, of course, Al Unser Jr. That win in the Kelly team car has propelled him into 2nd place in the series, and many consider it his best race for 5 years. But Gilles de Ferran, this year's Indy 500 winner, was victorious here on the 1 Mile Picturesque racetrack last year and would love to repeat that win. Plus, we're looking for more luck for our own Dan Weldon, who took an early retirement last weekend in Texas. To discuss all these topics and many more are our 2 guests tonight, regular IRL pundit Paul Cherry and the former Indy Lights winner Christian Colby. Nice to have you back here, Chris, of course. Thank you for joining us. Paul, if I can come to you first of all, Al Unser Jr. last time out, he looked pretty good, looked like the old Al, and everyone seemed to be very happy about him. Onwards and upwards, I think, for him, even at his age.
Yes, definitely. He's taken him 3 years to get his act back together. He went through a lot of personal problems, car problems, team problems, legal problems, and even breathing problems. And he's countered all those and come back very much stronger. He's back now with his wife and his family, which has been a major influence for him. He's driving better than ever. He's got his fitness on track, and he is with a very, very good team who've got Toyota engines. So all the ingredients are there. Let's hope that last week really sort of sparked him for the future.
Well, we'll have to look and see how he's doing. He's down on the grid at this particular race meeting at the moment, but we're looking out for little Al. Christian, if I can come to you, you've raced a great deal against Dan Weldon, know him quite well. He was very unlucky in Indy, tipped it on its roof, mechanical problems last time out as well. He's got to pick his game back up, hasn't he? He's got to keep focused.
Yeah, I mean, Texas was just some unfortunate race, mechanical problems happen. Indy, I mean, he was just on fire all week. He was really, really quick, he was right on the pace, and unfortunately had a bad race. Even though he was running up front, he had made a small error and it cost him very dearly. But I mean, he needs a good result here, but I don't think confidence will be lacking for him in any way.
He's a young man, but he's mature, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, he's right on the ball, and I'm sure a little thing like a mechanical problem at Texas is a common thing that happens within racing, and he'll be right on the button again come Pikes Peak race now.
Okay, well, let's move on up to Pikes Peak International Raceway. It's obviously in the shadow of its famous hill climb that's in the background to it. But how tough is the oval that we're on today?
It's a very tricky 1 mile oval. You've got 3 different types of banking. You really need, there's probably only one good line, 2 abreast. We won't see any of the 5 abreast that we've seen at some other tracks. But it's the rarefied air that's going to make the difference. It's going to hold the cars back slightly. You lose maybe 30 horsepower.
Well, we can see now that we've got the
car number
grid
6.
lineup.
Car number 12. Scott Dixon, car number 9.
Dario Franchitti, car number 27.
Kenny Brack, car number 15. Thomas Scheckter, car number 10.
Scott Sharp, car number 8.
Roger Yasukawa, number 55.
Greg Ray, car number 13.
Dan Weldon, car number 26.
Sam Hornish Jr., car number 4.
Jacques Lazier, car number 5.
Buddy Rice, car number 52.
Buddy Lazier, car number 91.
Robbie Buell, car 24.
Sarah Fisher, car number 23.
Alan Sir Jr., car number 31.
AJ Foyt IV, car number 14. Vitor Mira, car number 2.
There we are then, we're looking at car number 6 of Gilles de Ferran. He's on the 2nd row of the grid and certainly be looking for another win here if he can possibly make it at the Pikes Peak International Raceway. Tony Kanaan is in pole position, courtesy of the fact they had rain in qualifying, so they took their qualifying times to get him onto pole. He's had 3 pole positions this year. Amazing, Paul Cherry.
Yes, absolutely. But the trick here is to get a good run into the first few laps.
Quick prediction from you, Christian. Who's going to win?
I think Kanaan will pull out and he'll win this. He's really strong. He's got a good Honda engine, and up in the altitude, I think he'll do well.
Up in the altitude, Paul. Thin air.
Yeah, I'm afraid it'll definitely be a Honda or a Toyota that wins it.
As ever, sitting and straddle that fence. Okay, let's cross now to the track live, of course, with Gary Lee and Larry Rice.
7th position. His father, George, flew in from Scotland to be one of the crew members this afternoon. In fact, he'll be handing the drink bottle over to his son. In America, this is actually Father's Day.
That's right. This is a 362-kilometer race. The last year's champion, de Ferran, you already said, and the fuel range is between 68 and 72 miles. The Chevrolets are not getting that good of gas mileage, so they're going to have to pit before that, probably. It's a 1 mile oval, 1.6 kilometers. The front straightaway is 288 meters, the back straightaway 258. The 10-degree banking in the turns, so it's a fairly flat racetrack, but the altitude is the big thing. It's 1,632 meters high. Very, very thin air.
And there's a look at Pikes Peak, where we look at racing that's dated back to Pikes Peak to 1916, the race to the clouds. So far, the weather is great, partly cloudy, but we've had showers and thunderstorms almost every afternoon this week. There is Vito Mira driving for John Menard, starting back in the 22nd position. One of a number of onboards that we'll have for you this afternoon. There's the blue skies up above, and there is Sam Hornish. Hornish in the number 4 Pennzoil Panther entry. He's starting near the back of the pack as well, back in the 14th position. We should be going green this time by as Tony Kanaan will pick up the throttle. Good side-by-side start as they work off that banking. This track really doesn't have much of a straightaway on the backstretch. They're in a turn almost all the way around.
Yes, and they've had some of the best starts here in the IRL this year they've ever seen. That was a terrific start. Everybody's close and everybody's side by side.
Tony Kanaan leads the Penske cars as the Penske boys run 2nd and 3rd. Then Giafone back there in 4th position.
The Penske cars finished 1-2 here. Oh, here you go. Castroneves already making a dive to the inside. That's one of the favorite places to pass here because you get a good run down that front straightaway. Started to say the Penske cars ran 1st and 2nd, and de Ferran's going into 2nd, so they're right back where they started last year, except in reverse order. De Ferran led most of the race last year. This racetrack is very much a handling racetrack. It's not the horsepower isn't near as significant here as it is at a lot of other racetracks. That should give the Chevrolets a bit of an advantage, and it's one of the reasons that Penske has always done so well here, because he concentrates on the handling of the race cars.
Well, the high altitude represents a real challenge for the crew setting these cars up, as well as for the drivers. The air is very thin. We're over a mile up, as you said, over 1,600 meters, and that's a huge difference from the Texas race that we enjoyed last weekend. Also, with the thinner air, there's much less downforce, much less drag on these race cars, making the cars a little more difficult to set up.
Well, it makes them more difficult to set up. The engines don't want to run as well. You've got like 150 less horsepower here than you have normally. So there's just all kinds of things that affects, and it affects the drivers. In this thin air, the drivers don't breathe as well. So a lot of the drivers will come to this racetrack a week in advance just to try to get used to the altitude so they can physically be ready to run this race.
Castro Nevitz is your leader, and DeFerrin rides in second. Kanaan, who had the pole, back in third position. Now in the morning warm-up this morning, actually it was a Greg Ray that was fastest. Roger Yasakara had some very good practice laps this morning as well. So again, they did not qualify yesterday because of a very strong thunderstorm, so they went on practice speeds from yesterday morning.
Yes, and this racetrack is just over the Rocky Mountains. A lot of times in the afternoon, the moisture will build up over the mountains, and when it drops off the mountains onto this flatland, it'll create some thunder showers, and you just never know when they're going to hit. We're looking at Yasakawa on the inside. That's Sam Hornish on the outside. And it looks like Yasakawa has gotten around him. I thought maybe the Sam Hornish would have a good run here this week because this was more of a handling racetrack. But obviously, even on a racetrack this small, the Chevrolets are a terrible disadvantage.
Yasakawa, with the Japanese name, was actually born in Los Angeles, but between the ages of 6 and 12, lived in Japan. Then he went to Italy, where he went through high school and graduated from high school in Italy, but now resides once again where he was born, in Los Angeles, riding back there with the two-time defending Indy Racing League champion Sam Hornish. And at this point, with Sam in that Chevrolet Power, there's been a lot of talk this week about what's going to happen with maybe some kind of a cooperative effort between Chevrolet and Ford Cosworth to get a different power plant in those Chevy cars.
Yeah, actually, Sam Hornish and Panther, those guys are going to test that Cosworth engine this week up in Chicago. So we should know more by the time we get to Richmond as to what the situation with Chevrolet is going to be. They're at such a disadvantage right now. Almost any move that they make has to be an improvement.
Well, Sharp is right in front of that yellow car. That's the Sharp machine.
And just watch it. You can see they're getting off of the corner. He gained a tremendous amount of ground off of the corner, and then as soon as they got to the straightaway, he could not gain anymore. Even with the draft, he couldn't gain on him.
You're looking at Sharp, then Yasakawa is in front of Sharp, and then Ray in front of Yasakawa. There is the telemetry on the Hornish entry.
Oh!
And
Scott Sharp
had to move to the inside.
Yeah, Scott Sharp had a big push there. He climbed way out of the throttle and slowed up. Now you see the tire temperature down there on the bottom. It's telling you that it's in the green so far. So the right rear tire temperature, and tire temperature is extremely important here at Pikes Peak. It's one of because of the altitude, the track temperatures are extremely hot, sometimes up to around 150 degrees. So you have to be very careful not to overheat or get the tire temperatures too high. If you get a lot of temperature in the right rear, it will grow, it will get bigger, and it'll throw off the handling of the car. So they have to watch their tire temperatures very closely.
Jacques Lazier is in that blue, two-tone blue car, number 5, directly behind the car you're riding with right now. Jacques driving for A.J. Foyt this weekend, subbing for the injured Ayrton Dare, who was injured in practice last week. Now, it's been reported that Ayrton probably will miss the rest of this season. At first, we thought maybe 2 months, but he'll likely be out for the rest of the season. But Foyt really has not turned his hand on whether he'll keep that Jacques Lazier in that car. Look at this, almost to the wall. Scott Sharp almost put the number 4 in the fence.
See, he had no idea Sam Hornish is out there. Hornish is handling so much better through the corners, but just has no straightaway speed. Once he got out there, he couldn't propel himself on up the side. Scott Sharp, and Sharp had no idea he was there.
Oh boy, was that ever close. In fact, there may have been some slight contact. Hornish may have brushed the wall as he goes around Scott Sharp. There's a look back at that number 5 car right there, Lazier, and behind Lazier is the Buddy Rice number 52.
I'm telling you, Scott Sharp's spotter was saying, outside, outside. He was screaming right at the last minute. Scott didn't drift on up to the wall and gave him enough room, but boy, it was close.
And now he looks to the inside of Roger Yasakara, who is the leading rookie so far in the Bombardier Rookie of the Year honors. And Hornish moves up one more position. He's up to 11th and pulls up behind Greg Ray in 10th. Elio Castroneves, Jill DeFerrin, the two Penske teammates, and look at this.
Sam?
Well, he's just picked off 3 positions in about 4 laps as Hornish moves to 10th. He's getting real racy out there with an underpowered Chevrolet. But once again, you know, could this track be a great equalizer for that Chevy?
Well, it is a great equalizer. If you've got a very good handling car, there's so much turning on this racetrack. You're turning all the time. It can really be a huge advantage. And you can see he just went up to the outside and blew by all of those guys on the outside.
Well, that hot pink car right there, number 13, is Greg Ray, who's a 2-time winner of this event, won in back-to-back years. He was the quickest in practice this morning.
Yeah, I'm a little shocked that he's not running a little better. After those practice speeds this morning, I thought he was going to be one of the guys that really contend with, but so far he's just not been.
Back to the front, Elio Castroneves, and you have to wonder about Al Unser Jr. He said he was working on race setups and was not working on a qualifying setup, and they got caught with their pants down yesterday when it rained, and he started at the back of the pack, and we fully expected him to make a run for the front, but he's still mired back there in 21st position.
And he's almost to get lapped. He's the next car to get lapped. A.J. Foyt, the 4th, has already been lapped, and there you can see the distance from Castroneves up to Al Unser Jr. So Al Unser Jr. he's in deep trouble. Whatever their problems are, they didn't fix them between practice and the race, because he's still very, very slow. You can see that they're coming up on a whole raft of lap cars right now. This is handling in traffic is going to be very, very important, extremely important.
Well, you can see Foyt about to be passed as you look back at Al right there from the number 2 of Vitor Mira. Live from Pikes Peak International Raceway in Fountain, Colorado, just south of Colorado Springs and just south of the great Pikes Peak Mountain. You're riding with Vitor Mira in car number 2 for John Menard, and Mira right now back in the 18th position.
Yeah, he started clearing the back, so he's gained several spots. Still has a long way to go, though, with that Chevrolet-powered car. But just before we came back on air, these guys were really battling each other. There's a whole group of them. They've kind of thinned out a little bit right now, though.
Well, Castroneves out in front. He is leading his 4th race of the season. He led some 58 laps at Indianapolis in May. Did not lead last week. So he's only led some 64 laps total this season coming into this event. But he took the lead on the 2nd lap and has led ever since. So he's led some 24 laps this afternoon.
Yeah, and he's pulling away from everybody else a little bit, although when he got into traffic, Gilles DeFerrin pulled up and caught him quite a bit.
Early non-scheduled pit stop for A.J. Foyt.
Well, he's already 2 laps down, so he's obviously got all kinds of problems with of some sort, because you don't get 2 laps down this early in the event without having some major handling problems.
Well, right now we have A.J. 3 laps down, and look at this. Your leader pulls up behind Al Unser Jr. Al is in 21st position, about to go a lap down. So obviously something is amiss in that Kelly car, because this is very uncharacteristic to have Al a lap down this early in the competition.
Well, whatever they have as far as handling problems, they didn't fix them between practice and now. He was very slow in practice. He's still very slow. He tried to tell everybody that they were just working on race setups, but that's obviously not the problem.
Well, Al has the best percentage of laps completed. In fact, he has completed 99.8% of the laps. Kenny Breck has 99.3%, and DeFerrin has 98.1%. And that's a tribute to the engine builder and to the crew. And those guys can drive virtually every lap of every race. But right now, Al's not concerned with completing laps. He's concerned with not getting lapped.
Yeah, and Castroneves, even though he pulled away, he had a 2.5-second lead just a few minutes ago. When he caught up with traffic, especially Al Unser Jr., he hasn't been able to go anywhere. Gilles DeFerrin is now pulled up right behind them. And Kanaan is catching both of them. So this traffic is going to be a very important part of this race. And if Castroneves can't get through traffic, then he's not going to win this race. You've got to be able to handle the traffic, especially on a little track like this. And there's A.J. Foyt again out there, obviously not having any better luck now than he has had all race long. And here comes DeFerrin.
To the inside, and is he going to take second position from his teammate? Yes. Can he hang on wheel to wheel? The Penske car is off the corner down this straightaway, which is not really even a straightaway.
Well, Castroneves held on to the lead. DeFerrin got under him when they got behind A.J. Foyt the fourth, but once they got past him, DeFerrin didn't give up. Castroneves didn't give up. He was on the outside. DeFerrin had the bottom. The inside is the shortest way around the racetrack, but sometimes when you have to pinch the car or stay down off of the wall coming off the corners, you lose your momentum. So it's not always the best way, best thing to be on the bottom of the racetrack on a racetrack such as this 1 mile oval here at Pikes Peak.
Well, I think also this is going to be an indication of what will happen throughout this race. On a mile track, there's only one track really smaller, and that will be our next venue at Richmond, which is under a mile, shorter than a mile. Traffic will play a role in this race, throughout the race.
Yes, and this is the fastest 1 mile oval that they run on. It's faster than Phoenix, faster than Indy. Look at Hornish now. He's up with A.J. Foyt. He had to get out of the throttle, shifted gears because he had to get out of the throttle. He was closing on him so fast.
Hornish now up to 8th position. And Hornish started, where did he start this race? Started back in 14th position, so he's picked up several positions already. There's a look at Takagi in number 12.
Yeah, Hornish has done a terrific job. He's always been fast here, but he has run through the corners on the second groove, the outside groove, and he's been able to pick off car after car in that outside position.
But throughout his career, Larry, we have seen that young man from the state of Ohio run a higher groove consistently than anybody else and get by with it.
Well, and on a racetrack like this, when there's so much corner, it's very important. It's extremely important to have a good handling race car. We've said it over and over, and you can't say it enough. And if he's got a good handling race car, he could still finish very well in this race today.
Also important to have a good spotter on a track like this where it's small and traffic plays such a key role. And, of course, the spotters we've talked about before for Sam Hornish is Pancho Carter.
Right. And we talked about Scott Sharp. His spotter barely got him to stay down just a few minutes ago and not take Sam Hornish into the wall.
Tori Takagi, who was Rookie of the Year at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. 25 years after my sidekick here in the broadcast booth was Rookie of the Year. Does it seem like 25 years ago?
Doesn't seem like 25 years. That's right. I certainly am. This guy's probably been the biggest surprise on the circuit, at least to me. I didn't know a lot about him before he came here, but boy, he's certainly been very fast at every racetrack we've run at so far.
Castroneves has been challenged by his teammate, but he continues to lead on lap 39. He's led 38 laps so far.
Then look at Al Unser Jr. Here he goes again. He's down to the inside.
Oh boy, not a lot of room down there.
He had to get out of the throttle. Look at Al Jr. though. Al Jr. has held these guys off for about 10 or 15 laps now, so Al Jr. been running extremely well.
By Jacques Lazier in the A.J. Foyt entry, number 5. So Lazier now.
I don't think that was. Maybe it was. I'm not sure.
I'm gonna see that.
I couldn't tell exactly who it was, but whoever it was wasn't running very fast. Obviously having some problems, but Al Jr. has certainly.
Scoring is showing. Yeah, it was Lazier that went a lap down.
So both the Foyt's cars are a lap down now for the.
The back of the field, Lazier is 21st, Foyt is 22nd.
I actually thought when Jacques Lazier got in that car, he would really help them as far as getting that car going. But whatever the problems are they're having handling-wise, he hasn't been able to help them very much.
And you see your 2 leaders still tucked in behind Al Jr. Al does not want to go a lap down. No. Al right now would love to see a yellow flag to get to the back of that lead lap.
Yeah, Al looks like he's getting through the corners pretty well, but not getting off the corner as well as the 2 Penske cars. The 2 Penske cars look to be getting off of the corner, especially off of number 2, extremely well. Right there, they gain on him a lot going down the back straightaway. He's going to make a move. Nope, can't quite do it. Now he has to get out of the throttle and see. Once you get out of the throttle like he did, you lose all kinds of momentum.
And Al is not blocking.
No.
He's just making a real wide race car. He's running a groove that's very difficult to get by inside, and they can't go by outside.
Well, they had plenty of room to go by on the inside. They couldn't do it. So he's absolutely running his line. And so far, Castroneves, and as I said before, Castroneves has got to find a way to work the traffic, or he's not going to win this race. You've got to be able to get through the traffic here, although we haven't seen as much as I thought we would.
All this is allowing Kanaan to close in on your 2 leaders. Jacques Lazier is in the pits for attention to the A.J. Foyt crew, and the Penske car is calling back to the pits saying the cars are loose in 1 and 2. So obviously there's still a number of laps off their pit window.
Right, they're still got, they're not going to pit for a while. And as this racetrack, at about 35 laps, they've run 45 laps now. At about 35 laps, about halfway through your run, these race cars will change dramatically. And if you don't have them set up, or if you can't adjust them, well, you're going to be in big trouble. And there goes Jacques Lazier down another lap. So he's, whatever his problems are,
well, he's not back up to speed after making that pit stop.
No, he's really in bad trouble.
And it was a surprise to many that Jacques had been sacked by John Menard. Jacques had done a good job for Menard last season, then was injured and was out of competition. They brought in Vitor Mira. Then Jacques began the season, and then John Menard ran 2 cars at the Indy Motor Speedway with Jacques and Mira. And after Indianapolis, they let Mira continue and sack Jacques as Castroneves continues to lead.
Giafone just glances across the front end of Greg Ray there, and Paul Cherry action all the way around this track at the moment, desperate for these minor places.
Yes, it's a 1 mile oval, so the traffic comes upon you time after time, and as I said earlier, there's only 2 grooves and they're pretty narrow, as we've seen.
Elio Castroneves and Gilles de Ferran, though, Christian Colby seemingly got the Penske cars hooked up and working. Both Delaras this week as well, I'm told.
Yeah, it was spoken earlier that the Delaras work slightly better on the shorter ovals with the downforce level that they need to be creating. Both the Toyota engines are working superbly up front, but Kanaan's just hanging in there, and my tip might just come back towards the end.
Well, we are on lap 58 of the 225 laps. This is live, of course. Let's cross back to the track now for our commentary team.
Now finds himself back in 6th.
Well, he's one of the guys
to lose another one to his teammate. Here comes Franchitti.
And consistency is so important. We talked before. Here comes, look at Sam Hornish. He's right up there with that whole group. He's right behind Franchitti.
They're 6th, 7th, and 8th on the racetrack on lap 60. Now you ride along with Sam Hornish.
Boy, look how much ground he lost. He got out of the throttle just a little bit getting into the corner, and he lost a half a straightaway.
The team cars, number 11 and 27, the team cars for Andretti Green Racing. They are based out of Indianapolis, and of course we've documented the fact that Michael Andretti retired after his run at Indianapolis at the age of 40 to devote all of his time to team ownership. And there's Dario Franchitti back there in the 7th position.
It'll be interesting to see if this altitude has any effect on Franchitti. Remember, he hasn't raced in quite a while. Physically, this is a demanding place anyway because the air is so thin, and when you haven't raced it compounds that situation. So physically, this may not be the best place for him to make his return.
Well, you see, he lost some ground on his teammate. Now here comes Sam Hornish. Once again, they're working on lap 62 out of a 225 lap event. This is a 1 mile track.
These guys up here in front, this is Scheckter. He's caught Castroneves.
And he's going to pass him.
Boy, once he got him, just going down the back straightaway, he just pulls to the inside. Castroneves isn't giving up that easy. He's run that outside line before with de Ferran and not lost the position, but this time it looks like he's going to lose the battle.
So now Scheckter moves to 2nd position. In fact, he has a distinction of having led the most laps in both his rookie and sophomore race at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And that had not been done since,
I don't know the answer.
Frank Lockhart did it back in 1926 and 1927 as a rookie and a 2nd-year driver, leading the most laps in his first 2 races.
Well, there's Giafone. He's also on the move. That's Dixon right behind him. Dixon actually catching him as they're running back there in 4th and 5th spots. So they both gotten around Tony Kanaan. So Scott Dixon also. He started in 6th. He's running in 5th, but he's been fairly consistent all day long.
Well, there's a look at the race summary. He's led 18 laps, has DeFerrin. We've had 3 different leaders.
And here comes Dixon. Nope, didn't make it that time. Went to the inside. Thought he might have a shot at Giafone, but thought better of it. And then went the. Look at this. Hornish on the outside. It's the only way he can pass anybody because he doesn't have the horsepower to come off the corners down on the bottom.
Keep the momentum up on the outside.
Got to keep the momentum up on the outside. And he's running so quick through the corners that he can get that done. A lot of times he's really quick down here through 3 and 4.
Now look at this. He ducks to the inside where we just said he doesn't have the horsepower to get it done, and he doesn't.
Now, and look at that. Franchitti's car just jumped a little bit there. It wiggled a little bit, but he still had the horsepower, even when he climbed out of the throttle, just to pull away from him.
DeFerrin continues to lead as we ride on board Sam Hornish back in the 8th position.
This is lap 67. The pit stops are going to be coming here in the next 5 or 6 laps. We'll see pretty shortly, and I'm sure that the Chevrolets are going to have to stop first. They're the cars that are getting they're getting about 2 3/10 mile a gallon less than the Hondas and Toyotas, so they're going to be stopping pretty shortly.
And keep in mind the handling characteristics are total. Whoa, oh boy, Sam did a little slide there coming off that corner. Oh, as DeFerrin continues to lead after 68 circuits.
This is Helio Castroneves that found himself right up there on the marbles as he drops back down the track. Helio Castroneves was running in 3rd place. He's now dropped back and lost, well, an absolute shed load of places. He won't be happy about that. He's back in 7th place, I can confirm now. These are live pictures then from the Pikes Peak International Raceway. This is the Honda Indy 225, and let's rejoin our commentators live at trackside.
Well, that's 63 laps at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway and 145 laps last week at Texas.
You know, I'm really surprised Sam Hornish is still on the racetrack. He's getting as good a gas mileage maybe as some of the Toyotas and Hondas. So that's good for him. And most of the other Chevrolets are still out there, and they've run 79 laps.
Well, the first Chevy to pit was the number 24 of Robbie Buell. Schechter, who's leading, started back in 9th position. But again, that was not totally indicative of what perhaps he could have started had they qualified, because a lot of these guys were working on different setups in that practice session before qualifying was rained out yesterday afternoon. Well, heavy traffic out in front of your leader.
Yeah, Dixon's pulled up into 3rd, so DeFerrin, then Dixon, and Giafone. So
Al Unser making his first of at least 2 pit stops. And look at this. Hornish to the inside of Castroneves.
Oh, Castroneves.
Battle for 7th.
Yeah, and Hornish picked up a little bit of a push.
He may be out of fuel.
Yeah.
Hornish is out of fuel.
Well, he knew he was going to have to come in. This will cost him.
And he didn't get off he didn't come through that pit lane. He stayed on the racetrack, on that apron, did not come off the racetrack as he could have down in the 3rd turn.
Yeah, this is a really bad break for him. He'd run so well. They tried to stay out there, but they just didn't have the fuel. They're not getting the mileage that the Toyotas and Hondas are getting, that's all.
So they left him out at least 1 lap too long. And here's DeFerrin taking a look to the high side going through the corner. Schechter continues to lead, and he has Sarah Fisher out in front of him.
They're in some pretty heavy traffic out there, so it's these guys trying to find a way out there. That looks like
wide in the corner, and now he pulls up behind Greg Ray in that. Would you call that a hot pink?
Yeah, I guess you would.
The Trim Spa number 13, a highly unusual number in IndyCar racing. In fact, he drove the number 13 at the Indy Motor Speedway, the first time that Indy had seen the number 13 since about 1914.
You can see that he's gotten through the traffic very well. Scott Dixon, though, is right on the back bumper of Gilles DeFerrin as they got through that traffic. So Dixon catching these guys and running very well once they get into the traffic.
Well, we've gone 85 laps, working on lap 86. When are they going to come in?
Well, they're going to have to come in. I would guess since Hornish ran out of fuel in about lap 82 that they're going to have to come in here in the next 2 or 3 laps. They're not going to make it to 90, I don't believe, and they're on lap 86 right now.
Rookie Dan Weldon stops for his first of 2 stops. See, we thought that the Chevys would have to make 3 stops to 2 for the Hondas and the Toyotas.
Yeah, and that running out of fuel cost Hornish at least 1 extra lap, so that's a terrible, terrible break for him.
Kenny Brack has also peeled off the racetrack to make his first stop. But the question is, when will the leaders come in?
You can see guys have already, there's Tor Takagi coming out of the pit, so he's already made his pit stop. But I just can't imagine these guys are going to be able to stay out there more than another 2 or 3 laps.
The Red Bull car of Buddy Rice just peeled off the racetrack for his stop. Now we only have some 9 cars on the lead lap.
And that'll all settle out if they all have to make their pit stops under green. If not, these guys have stretched their fuel mileage and really helped themselves a lot.
Tony Kanaan, the first of the lead pack to pull into the pits for his first routine stop. We're hearing now from the pit area that Thomas Scheckter is going to come in about 5 laps.
Wow.
Now Kanaan has yet to pit. We talked about Kanaan pitting, but he did not come in.
95 laps.
Wow.
If he makes it another.
Wow.
We figured it would be 82 or 83, and they're going to go. Here they go. Penske cars are going to come in 90 laps.
Keep in mind, we've not had a yellow, so if we have any yellows in the second half of this race,
it might be a real gamble.
Kanaan now is in the pits, coming to the attention of the Michael Andretti Kim Green team, and there is the one Penske car coming right in behind Greg Ray.
Greg Ray, he's in, he's stopped. 60-mile-an-hour speed limit on pit road, so you've got to go slower than 60 miles an hour. It's a penalty.
Target cars are running 1 and 2. Scheckter is your leader. His teammate Scott Dixon, the winner at Homestead, riding in 2nd position. Giafoni is 3rd. Franchitti is now in the 4th position. So the Penske cars come in almost at the same time.
Those tire changers on the right side of the car are in a very vulnerable situation. As you can see, when they were coming in and out of the pits, they could get hit very easily out there.
So far, a very clean race. We've had 4 different leaders, and here comes your present leader, Thomas Scheckter. And Dixon now, if he stays out, will assume the lead.
Oh, there's a big mistake. Giafoni's still hooked up.
He's hooked up, and he's right in the way of the pit for Scheckter.
Can you believe Schecter's luck? How many times has something like that got to happen to him? He did absolutely nothing wrong, and these guys pull right out in front of him with the fuel hose connected.
And he's going to go around.
And it's going to cost him at least 2 laps. So, you know, again, he's just got caught in a situation that entirely not his fault. Unbelievable.
You know, in this country, many years ago, we called Lloyd Ruby the hard luck driver.
Yep.
And we're beginning to think that Thomas Scheckter is the modern day Lloyd Ruby, because everything seems to happen to him. A black cloud hanging over that race team. Certainly not his fault. Just like last week, he was told to pull out last week. He did what he was told. Yep. And had to come back in for a stop and go penalty.
Well, that was the responsibility of the car in there. He did not get out of the way. Giafoni's crew. It was their responsibility to make sure their driver got out cleanly, and they didn't. He pulled right out into Thomas Scheckter.
So he comes out. Dixon stays on the track and has a full lap lead on the field, but he will be coming in as well. We're showing Roger Yasukawa in 2nd position, DeFer in 3rd. Now let's watch again. Here comes Scheckter.
He's just heading for his pits. Giafoni's guys send him out. They and look at this. He's still got the fuel. The vent hose or something hooked up to the car, and he just pulls it and pulls it out of there.
So he'll be coming in for a stop and go because he still has that the hose. He'll be flagged. There's the contact right there. It's a drive-through penalty, but they'll have to get that vent hose off the race car.
Well, you know, that's a drive-through penalty, so he will be penalized. So Giafoni's crew or spotters, I'm not sure whose responsibility, who sent him out, but whoever sent him out, it was their responsibility. And now then, instead of losing just a couple of seconds, they're going to lose probably a whole lap because of this this drive-through penalty or stop and go penalty, depending on which it is.
Well, Dixon now is in the pits, and Yasukawa becomes the 6th leader of this race.
Yeah, and DeFerrin just went around him, so DeFerrin is back in the lead just as he was before. He just went around Yasukawa. Yasukawa in the blue car back there, so it's a that's the car that DeFerrin just went around, so DeFerrin back in the lead over Roger Yasukawa.
Scheckter has lost a lap. Scheckter lost a lap because of that pit infraction, which was not his fault. Now here is the drive-through penalty for, let's see if that that hose, now they took the hose off. That was the drive-through penalty. He's back on the racetrack now.
I think it probably fell off, and that's the reason for the drive-through penalty. He took debris or pit paraphernalia on the racetrack, so they gave him a drive-through penalty.
Well, we have our first yellow of the day on lap 101 for debris. So the first time we have seen a yellow, we have seen 6 different leaders. DeFerrin has led twice. Kanaan led for a lap, then Castroneves, DeFerrin, Scheckter, Dixon, Yasukawa for a lap, and DeFerrin now has the lead after 100 of 225 laps over Roger Yasukawa and Scott Dixon.
It's yellow at the Pikes Peak International Raceway, and this may well have a big reason for it, because incredibly Thomas Scheckter was balked big time by Felipe Giafone, a crew mistake by them. Giafone going out with what looks like a telemetry line, Paul Cherry, that's still hooked to his car, but a ridiculous situation here.
Yeah, completely stage managed to perfection, wasn't it? Yeah, it was definitely the data lead, as you can see at the top there, and they got that 3-meter cable definitely up to 6 before it gave way, and obviously the pieces of that have fallen off on the track.
Christian, I've got to say that Thomas Scheckter, in my book's got to be the unluckiest guy in modern day racing at the moment, the amount of things that befall him over the weeks that we've watched from here.
I mean, that's just terrible. Like, he came in as the leader of the race, was running really, really strong, defying the odds, really running well, and he's now left, had to do a drive round, and he's left the pits in P15, so he's dropped 15 places. Terrible luck.
Thomas got a drive round penalty last week for a team infringement. Basically, it was no fault of his as a driver. Now he's caught this particular situation, and Giafone got the same kind of penalty, but to me it seemed he should have had 2 drive-throughs for that particular infringement.
As you said, he's very, very unlucky, and I can see Morris and Chip are going to have a little word by the back of the transporter later on, I should think.
Well, as you can see, we're about to go back racing now, so let's go back to the track live for more of the action back at Indy.
Well, Buell's back in 9th position. And here we go back to racing.
See those guys dicing already, trying to find a spot. There's Sam Hornish back in the back. He would dearly love to somehow be able to make that lap up and get back up there, because as far as corner speed, I think he probably was as fast as anybody on the racetrack that last segment. He's not a young guy that gives up very easy. He doesn't know the word quit, no matter what the circumstances. He's always in there giving it everything he's got, and he was certainly giving these guys what for on the outside during that last segment.
Katie takes a look to the inside. Now, right now, Hornish is stuck in behind Buddy Rice in that Red Bull Cheever number 52. He looks to the inside, trying to put him a lap down. Rice is back there in the 11th position. He's a lap down overall to your leaders. Now a lap car with Franchitti back there in the 27.
Yeah, Hornish has got to get up there. He's got a couple of more guys he's got to get around to get back on the lead lap.
But Franchitti is trying to put a lap himself on Hornish, because Franchitti now is back in the 4th position.
Yeah, Franchitti's running in 4th position, and Hornish stayed in front of him. So Hornish running very well. Buddy Rice, Franchitti not having much luck in traffic, and just not doing all that great when he gets up there in traffic trying to get around those guys.
Well, your leader is DeFerrin, who won this event just a year ago. He has just almost a 2nd lead over Scott Dixon. Kanaan is 3rd. Franchitti is in 4th. Then it's Castroneves, Kanaan.
Yeah, Scott Sharp is that other car right behind Franchitti, but he also is a lap down, so he's not really battling. Franchitti's kind of out here by himself, but Frankitti's car has not handled on that outside groove. We've seen Sam Hornish make that pass on the outside. Franchitti, when he gets behind somebody, he almost always seems like he has to make the pass on the bottom side. So that car not where he wants it to be to run that outside groove right now.
You talk about sharp. He had that win at Motegi. And going into Indianapolis for the 500, he was leading the point standings, and he has just had a terrible run since then, back in 6th in the point standings.
Well, he had that crash last week. That cost him about 20 some odd points. So that was a big factor right there alone. But look at Scott Dixon. He's right behind DeFerrin, running just about the same speed, just sitting back there thinking, about halfway through this baby. We're going to figure out how I can get around him and stay there.
Past the halfway point.
Yep.
Lap 114 completed. It's a 2:25 race.
And he's quite content to be there right now.
I want to take a look at some of the drivers that have been on the move since that last restart, because we've seen a number of drivers go from near the front to the back because of various altercations, like the pit fracas for Schechter.
Yeah, Dixon right now not really gaining anything on DeFerrin, but not really losing anything either. So he's just kind of riding. Those two guys are kind of riding at the same distance, and both of them pulling away. They got like a 3-second lead on Kanaan. Kanaan's got a couple lap cars between himself and the leaders.
Well, Jill DeFerrin with one start here when he won last year. That's not a bad deal. Of course, you look at his teammate Castroneves, and he wins the 500 in his first 2 years.
Yeah, and Castroneves is back there in 5th spot right now, and he's struggling a little bit, but not being able to catch these two guys anyway.
Well, Dixon, a surprise winner at Homestead, and right now he might be well content just to run back there in 2nd place and let DeFerrin set the pace.
Yeah, he's not real worried about getting around him. I mean, he'll take it if the opportunity presents itself, but he'll probably wait until they get into lap traffic to try to make that pass.
So Dixon back in 7th position in the point standings. So you have a Brazilian out in the lead with somebody from New Zealand chasing from 2nd, a Brazilian 3rd, a Scotsman in 4th position, and a Brazilian in 5th. Japan is in 6th, and Yasukawa has the U.S. in 7th.
We're looking at Tony Kanaan, who's back in 3rd position, some 4 seconds behind the two leaders, trying to get himself set up for a sprint near the end. But right now, he's not gaining on the two leaders. At least he hasn't the last couple of laps.
And you have to wonder how this pit strategy will shake out, Larry. As you mentioned, if we have another yellow or two, some of these teams may try to stretch it out.
Yeah.
And go the distance on one pit stop.
Yeah.
There's Kenny Breck. You're riding along with Kenny. He's back there in the 11th position.
Yeah, he's up near the front, though. I mean, as far as track position, but he's still got to get around a couple of cars in order to get back on the lead lap. And so far, he hasn't shown the speed necessary to put himself back on the lead lap.
There's toward Takagi. Takagi is in 6th position right now, and you got to believe he'll be minding his P's and Q's, as we say in this country, for the rest of this season to keep his nose clean.
Yeah, he doesn't want to get on the bad side of Brian Barnhart, who's the chief steward, because one more time he could be actually sit down for a race or two.
Well, his pocketbook was set down a few bucks.
Yeah, I don't know what he makes, but $25,000 to $50,000 is a pretty hefty sum of money for anybody to have to
buy you some sushi and sake.
Yeah,
you might drink some sake to drown your sorrows.
Buy you just about anything you want, probably.
So the DeFerrin leads on lap 125. We'll have 100 laps to go. Now, Tony Kanaan just went 168 miles an hour. 169 for Kanaan, the fastest lap of the afternoon. Tony Kanaan over 169 miles an hour, and of course we can't tell you how that compared to qualifying because there was no qualifying yesterday because of that afternoon storm. They took practice times, but that was the fastest lap of the race so far, over 169 miles an hour.
Look at Sam Hornish. Sam Hornish is just about to put himself back on the lead lap. He just went around your second-place runner, Scott Dixon, on the outside. That's Gilles de Ferran, and he's going to blow him by. He's going to get back on the lead lap.
Well, this could be a story in itself.
This is definitely the biggest story for Chevrolet. Look at this kid. That car is admittedly from Chevrolet, at least 50 horsepower behind everybody else.
Scott Dixon. Scott just had a run on de Ferran. He watched Hornish go by and said, maybe I can do the same thing.
Well, and Tony Kanaan is gaining on both of them. He's been gaining tremendously in the last few laps.
He's gained 2 seconds in the last 2 laps.
He's cut that lead in half. He's only 2 seconds down. He was over 4 seconds behind in about 10 laps ago. So he's probably the fastest guy on the racetrack, and the speeds are going up. These guys keep running faster and faster every lap around there.
Hornish, the last lap, over 170 miles an hour. That was the fastest lap of the race, and that's a Chevrolet.
That's a Chevrolet, and that's what we said at the beginning of the event. This is a handling racetrack. You don't have to have as much horsepower. So Sam Hornish proving the point that this racetrack is probably going to be his best chance to have a good finish. He'd love to see a yellow flag right now, I guarantee you.
Well, he goes by some of the back markers, and that was Sarah Fisher that he went by. He's going to get by Dan Weldon, and right now he is the story of this race and consistently running the fastest laps out there on the racetrack in traffic. His last lap 168.3, down a couple of miles an hour, but again he's in traffic.
Yes, he has handled the traffic probably better than anybody. Dixon caught de Ferran when they were up there with some of that traffic and when Hornish was going around them. Now that they're back out in clean air, he is falling back a little bit, and Tony Kanaan is catching both of them. He's only 1.5 seconds behind now, so he's gaining about 1/4 second per lap.
I wonder who's at Tony Kanaan's house this weekend. He has a house in Miami, and last week he had a number of his buddies watching from his house, including Formula One driver Rubens Barrichello. Now, Rubens was tied up this afternoon racing himself in Canada, but Rubens had a chance to watch the race from Texas, and I think he was pretty impressed with what he saw.
Yeah, I would think so.
He might be looking for a ride himself if he gets dropped from Ferrari, so maybe he'll be looking to the IRL.
Tony Kanaan now 1.3 seconds back, and you can see visibly
the same frame. There he is.
He's right caught these guys, and there's heavy traffic in front of him. Now then we'll see which one of these guys. Again, de Ferran, when he catches traffic, it seems like Dixon catches him. I'm not sure whether that car, I just don't think that car's handling as well in the traffic as maybe some of the other guys are.
And Hornish is still turning laps at 3 and 4 miles an hour faster. That last lap, he was 5 miles an hour faster than the leader. And this is the reason why, because the leader is in traffic.
Well, he loves to see that. He'd love for those guys to follow these cars all day long. If he can run 4 miles an hour faster than they are, he'll catch them. He's about it.
We know that he has to stop again.
Well, they all have to stop.
Well,
they all
on the yellows.
They're all going to have to stop, and you know, for his sake, he would hope it would all be under yellow. But if it's not, he may.
They had to stop under green, and he could stop under yellow.
Right. Well, the big thing is if they all have to make a pit stop under the same circumstances. Look at Dixon. He tries to the inside, thinks better of it, and backs out. But they're not gaining. They can't seem to get around Robbie Buell and Sarah Fisher, who are in front of them.
And then Dan Weldon in front of them in car 26 for the Andretti green team.
And see, that's where Sam Hornish is so very strong. He caught the 2 leaders, and he just moved to the outside and went around both of them. Didn't bother him one bit. These guys catch the guys, and they're not running as quick. He's now 16.9 seconds behind these guys, so he's gaining about a 1/4 second a lap too. He's just got a lot more seconds to make up. That's all.
Well, these guys are still in heavy traffic, and they cannot run the same groove that Sam is running. Well, we cannot emphasize enough just how great it is for Sam to be able to keep the momentum up on the high side, to have that race car set up that he can use that high groove. These guys are passing basically under.
Right. If he had not run out of fuel, he would be leading this race right now in all probability, because he has been the fastest guy through the corners, the best handling race car here so far, and it seems like it doesn't get worse. Once they go 30 or 40 laps, it seems like everybody else slows down a little bit, and he keeps running pretty much the same speed.
Well, by comparison, he ran a 167.9 the last lap. The leader ran a 164.0.
Yeah, and the leaders are in heavy traffic still. They got a couple of cars in front of them. Kanaan, now that they're in traffic, he doesn't seem to have gained much either. Now look at Dixon. He got a big run. He's going to make the pass.
Yep. Dixon has the lead.
Use that lap car kind of as a pick. Farron decided to get out of the throttle and let him go.
Second time he has led this afternoon. And here comes Kanaan. Kanaan back in third position. Hornish is now up to 7th spot.
And he's only 14.5 seconds. He's gained about 4 seconds in the last 10 laps.
And again, he consistently has been faster each lap than the leader. Once again, 168 miles an hour this last lap for Hornish. The leader had 161.
Well, if he could come back after running out of fuel and actually have a chance to win this race, it would be a terrific boost for Chevrolet and a terrific boost for this team, which is they've been pretty disheartened. All the Chevrolet guys have been pretty disheartened all year long. There you see Sarah Fisher heading for the pit area.
I'm not sure where she's headed, but that's not for the pit area. I think she has an engine problem. It's still green.
She missed the pit
far
area.
enough off the racetrack. I see no oil, no liquid.
Well, they're going to be throwing the yellow probably because she is on the inside of the racetrack, but not out of harm's way, actually.
You're riding along with Sam Hornish. Back now in 6th position. He's chopped it to just under 13 seconds off the leader. And there's your telemetry. 100% throttle.
He's got to be very careful. This next set of tires is going to be crucial. When he makes his pit stop, if he gets another... Oh, look at that. Look how he pulls up on Castroneves. It looked like Castroneves got out of the throttle. He gained on him so quickly and just blew by him on the outside. He's in 5th.
Watch the lateral G's. Because before they had something like over 3 lateral G's on the driver. Now he's up to 5th position.
He's up to 5th position on the racetrack after losing a lap, passing the leaders once during this segment, and now he's 12 seconds behind. He's got a long way to go before he catches up with these guys.
Look at Kanaan closing in. Kanaan closes in on DeFerrin. Dixon continues to lead this thing for the second time this afternoon. We've had 6 different leaders: Kanaan, Castroneves, DeFerrin, Schechter, Dixon, Yasukawa. And all have taken time leading.
And Schechter is trying to get his lap back too. He's right behind Kanaan, so if he can get around these guys and his teammate, he will get his lap back. So Thomas Schechter, after that disastrous pit stop, also has a chance to get back on the lead lap. And look at Kanaan. DeFerrin just is not handling in that second groove. As a matter of fact, hardly anybody is except Sam Hornish. And here comes Schechter. Once DeFerrin had to get out of the throttle, let Kanaan go, he lost all of his momentum, and it was an easy pickings for Schechter.
Well, right now they're working on lap 150. We'll have 75 laps to go following the completion of this circuit. There is Tony Kanaan in 2nd position, some 2 seconds behind Scott Dixon. Dixon continues to lead. Grabbed the lead on lap 142 some 7 laps ago. Good crowd on hand here this afternoon. A Rocky Mountain high for these race fans.
And there goes Schechter. He's now gotten around him. Now he just has his teammate to catch, but his teammate is almost 3 seconds, about 2.5 seconds in front of him. So he's got a ways to go to get himself back on the lead lap.
There's Al Unser right in front of Schechter. Al has not had a real sound day. He's mired back there in 17th position, 2 laps off the pace. So whatever the problem is, that Kelly team has not rectified it.
And you remember that Schechter is the other guy who late in that segment got faster and faster as the segment went on. He had been running back in 8th and 9th. At about the 35th or 36th lap, he came to life. And now then he's doing the same thing in the second half of this segment.
And you wonder how difficult Scott will make it for his teammate to get his lap back when Schechter gets up behind that number 9 target car.
We've had 6 different leaders at Pikes Peak. The action has been red hot throughout. We've only had 1 yellow caution period, and that right now is a record, 2 being the shortest we've ever had in a IRL race at any time since its instigation as a series. Let's get back to the track then, live for more racing.
Here from Sarah Fisher, who was out with apparently engine problems. And there he goes to the inside of Giafone.
Yeah, so he's putting Giafone down. And Scott Dixon and Thomas Schechter and Tony Kanaan really have been fast, as has the parent. Oh, well.
Second yellow of the afternoon again for Debris.
You see Sarah Fisher.
Straightaway this time.
Yeah, we're happy for that you're okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
So, Debris, the second yellow of the afternoon. Now, will these guys stop?
Sure they will. They'll all pit. They'll be their last pit stop of the day. So everybody will be going to the end after this pit stop. Now we know Hornish. I don't know how many of these other cars that are lapped down will pit, but Hornish will be in the lead pack. He will get to go to the end of the lead line because he will not pit. He'll stay on the track. You can see that flag means that the pits are closed. You're not allowed to go in until the pits are officially open, and as soon as that guy stops waving that flag, and of course the spotters, that guy tells the drivers, but the spotters will be the guys who actually tells the driver when to head for the pit area.
165 laps they're working on right now as the pace car on the racetrack with three-time Indianapolis 500 champion Johnny Rutherford, Lone Star JR. Behind the steering wheel, you're right with Takagi.
Full or not?
Yeah, Schechter, boy, if he could have gotten around Dixon, he's not going to win on this thing because he's going to have to make his pit stop now too. So he will not get to gain his lap back, I don't believe. So that's not a break for him.
Well, it's Dixon, Kanaan, DeFerrin, Franchitti, and Yasukawa. Those 4 or 5 are on the lead lap. Everybody else being shown a lap down. There is your leader, or there is DeFerrin. DeFerrin back in 3rd position. So let's see when they will make their pit stop. This will be the final pit stop of the afternoon.
Now they'll all be coming in. Dixon, Kanaan, DeFerrin, Franchitti, and Yasukawa all on the lead lap.
All peel off and head for the pits. Well, somebody started to come in and went back out. Looked like one of the Penske cars. Made the turn in, then cranked the steering wheel back to the right and went back around.
Scott Sharp in the yellow car. There's Kanaan. There's Dixon. Both of those guys. Dixon pitted way down on the other end. Dixon the first one out, of course, because he was in first. 60-mile-an-hour pit lane speed, so you have to be careful.
It must have been Castro Evans that started to come in, then veered back to the right. There's Greg Ray. There's Kanaan. There's Franchitti behind him.
Those guys all got in. Looked like everybody got a pretty clean pit stop that time. They all got in and out pretty cleanly. DeFerrin, though, he was not as quick as they have been because he's behind Kanaan. He lost positions on that pit stop, so he had more trouble than obviously than Kanaan did.
Well, let's see where they shake out now and where Hornish will be on this on the restart. Only 2 yellows this afternoon, and both were for Debris. We had a 6-lap yellow between 101 and 107 for Debris. This one came out at 164. We're on 168 right now, and there's a look at Scott Dixon.
Well, he got in and out. He's the leader.
We're hearing some report, Larry, from the pit area. The weight jacker might not be working on car 9. How crucial will this be?
Well, you know, it could be crucial near the end of this race because he has been really one of the most consistent cars on the racetrack, and the way you get consistent is by being able to adjust that car while it's on the move. So now you can see there's the Sam Hornish. He's going to get to go by with the rest of these guys. The big, whoops, that looked like Dixon was going to go around. I don't think they want him going around. He's leading the race. Now there he is. He decided to slow down and follow the pace car, but
he was following Hornish.
Right. All those other guys are going to get to go around and fall in at the back. The big disadvantage for Hornish, even though he is back on the lead lap, he is going to be behind almost every car on the racetrack. He's going to have to pass everybody, including the lap cars. Of course, that hasn't bothered him too much.
He just goes to the high side and goes by him.
But by the time he catches back up with these guys, he's still going to be behind by several seconds. It's going to be a huge disadvantage. So we'll see how quickly he can get through that traffic and if he's got enough laps left to catch those guys.
There is Dario Franchitti, and look at that. He's up to third position. A good pit stop for the Andretti Green team. Got him out in front of DeFerrin and Yasukawa. So he's up to third. So Dixon leads it for the Ganassi Target team. Then it's Kanaan and Franchitti for Green, the Andretti Green team back there in second and third. Then DeFerrin for Penske.
Schechter did get his lap back. He's being shown in sixth position, so he must have taken on a short fuel load. He had to do something that he didn't. He got in and out of the pits very quickly and got in front of all these other guys.
There's Hornish, but look at all the cars. You ride with Sam right now. Look at all the cars in front of him.
Yeah, he's dead last on the racetrack. He's got a lot of cars to pass.
Yes, 55 laps to go. There is the furrow flag indicating one more lap. You see the pace car pull off in turn one.
It'll be interesting to see Schechter too. See if he must have made a short pit stop of some sort to get out in front of those guys, and then when he got ahead of everybody else, including Dixon, so that when they sent the cars past the pace car, he got to go around to the back too.
Right now under yellow, they're showing Hornish 12 seconds back. That's about where he was before he made that pit stop. And go back to green and they scramble for position.
Look at Franchitti. He's going to the outside of Kanaan right away, trying to make the pass with those lap cars.
Kanaan drops to third. Franchitti goes to second. Wouldn't this be a story if the Scotsman can come back from a broken back and win this thing in his first race back?
Now he's on the outside of that lap car trying to make one more pass. Doesn't get it done. He's going to have to fall back in behind and try to use the inside. He used that early. Oh, he got out of the throttle right there.
That's Tora
Takagi, and he had to get out of the throttle. That's going to cost him. Look at this. Look how easily he goes around Dan Weldon. We're riding along with Sam Hornish. A lot of traffic in front of him and cars running side by side. That's not a good thing for him. As he's just, look how fast he comes off of turn number 4. He's been doing that all day long. It was almost as fast when he was going around Castro Neves.
Well, he's only now 7 seconds behind the leader. And keep in mind, they're on lap 173. Not quite 50 laps to go, a little over 50 laps to go.
This is Thomas Schechter right in front of him. This is not a slow race car that he's up there going around, and he's going to try to go the outside. But the horsepower on the inside, I think, is going to overcome him.
Well, now he has a lap car up there in front, so he'll have to go to the inside. That looks like it could be the Red Bull car.
Look at this.
On the outside of the corner behind the Red Bull car.
Oh,
almost
Schechter doesn't see him.
Got room. Oh, Schechter gave him room to get by on the inside of the 52 car of Wright's. Schechter gave him room, and he moves to 6th position.
Schechter didn't know he was on the outside, moved up, almost made contact, and then as soon as he lifted, Hornish just darted to the inside and went around the other lap car. So Hornish working traffic very bravely, but very effectively right now. Wow.
Well, Hornish did not have the lap speed that last time that the leader did. Dixon, the fastest lap of the, wait a minute. Kanaan, 173.5 miles an hour that last lap. That's the fastest lap of the race.
Yeah. Tony Kanaan, very quick. Now then, we're going to see now as Hornish works in traffic, still working in that higher groove, and Schechter trying to follow him through as Vitor Mira right in front of him. We'll see if he moves to the outside going through this corner. Nope, can't quite do it this time.
Hornish riding just under 10 seconds behind your leader, who is Scott Dixon. Dixon looking for his second win of the year. He won the opening race at Homestead. Wow. Right now, the story of this race, look at this battle back there for second position. That's Franchitti in the blue and white 27. Tony Kanaan, his teammate, in the green and white number 11. That's the battle for second. And that's going on about 2 seconds behind Scott Dixon.
Yeah, Scott Dixon has a pretty nice lead right now. Kanaan, though, definitely the faster car. Now that he gets a run on him, he's going to make it past him this time by.
So Kanaan goes by his teammate. He's back in second. Franchitti drops to third. And there is DeFerrin in fourth. Yasukawa, good ride for Roger Yasukawa back in the 5th position. Hornish is 6th. Then it's Schechter and Castro Neves. Those 8 are on the lead lap. Troy Takagi is now a lap off the pace in 9th, and it's Kenny Breck in 10th. Robbie Buell is 11th.
Well, Thomas Schechter has been very quick. He did his team, whatever they did on that last pit stop to get him back on the lead lap, he's done a great job. But Sam Hornish has just been spectacular out there today.
Sam Hornish is still laboring some 10 seconds behind the leader, who is Scott Dixon.
You see Kanaan as he's working, he's cutting down that lead of Scott Dixon, so he is very, very fast on the racetrack right now.
And what is he? Kanaan's motioning for some reason there to either his teammate or the flagman. Now that is curious, Larry, because Tony Kanaan is behind his teammate, and we really couldn't pick up what he was trying to motion for.
Well, I can tell you what he's saying. He said, "Getting the heck out of my way. I want to."
What he's saying? No, that's his teammate. That's Tora.
Yeah, that's Tora Takagi, and he's telling the flagman to get this guy out of my way. I'm racing for the win here, and I need to catch Scott Dixon. And obviously, I would bet money that his spotter went down and had a little discussion with Tora Takagi's spotter and said, "If you don't get him out of the way, I'm going to punch you right in the nose."
Well, right now, as we said earlier, Takagi is on the hot seat as far as the IRL is concerned. There's a look at Sam Hornish, currently in 5th position, having just one of his best rides of the year. He's gotten around Yasukawa, so he goes to 5th and is about 6 seconds behind Farron, who is in 4th on lap 186. Now some 40 laps to go. Does he have enough time left in this race to make some noise?
Well, he's not running a lot faster than the 2 leaders, but he's running faster than everybody else out there by quite a bit. So he'd
like to see the leaders catch some lap traffic.
Yeah, he certainly would. If he would win this race, it'd be an absolute miracle. If he finished in the top 3, which is very doable, it would be a spectacular ride for him.
Back up in front, young Scott Dixon. His parents watching this race live. They're in a pub, just south of Auckland, aren't they? Watching.
Once in a while, the Silo Pub. Not sure about that today, but I know that they've done that in the past.
Well, Castro Nevins is in the pits. What's this all about, Larry?
Well, it's not something that he wants to happen, I can tell you that. It's not a planned pit stop. We'll see. Maybe he's cut a tire. Could very well be that he thinks he's cut a tire. He's just made a pit stop. They are fueling it, but this is not a routine pit stop. They're really adjusting on that front wing.
He was a lap down. He's going to be 2 laps down time. He gets back out and back up to speed.
Yeah, they made some major league adjustments in the front end of that car.
Scott Dixon up behind Buddy Lazier. It has been a very clean race. Only 2 yellows, and both of those were for debris. Both were short yellows. And there is your leader up behind a former winner here, Buddy Lazier. Working on lap 190 with our live coverage from Pikes Peak International. Scott Dixon goes to the inside of Buddy Lazier. Tony laboring back there in 12th position. He's now 2 laps off the pace.
And Tony Kanaan is right behind him right now. He caught that traffic. Kanaan just sucked him up real quick. And now then, if Kanaan can get around this traffic, he might have a chance to pull himself into the lead.
Consistently the fastest driver on the racetrack, though, is Sam Hornish. We're watching the drivers up in front. Hornish back there in 5th position, but he consistently is a mile or 2 mile-an-hour faster than the leaders.
Yeah, he's...
Thomas Schechter is headed for the pit area, so this is curious.
Well, he was hoping for, I don't know what he was hoping for, but he made a very quick pit stop. He obviously didn't get enough fuel. They just made a quick pit stop, trying to get him back on the lead lap. Hoping something might happen, and it just didn't happen for him. So that's a tough race.
Saw Tony shifting gears there as he goes through traffic. As you ride with Kanaan back there in 2nd position, he was the points leader coming in.
Yeah, he had, he got behind those cars, so he just downshifted so he could get up on the horsepower range again. There, you're riding along with Kenny Brack once again.
Scott Dixon, who leads this thing, with some 61 points behind Tony Kanaan. 50 points will go to the leader of the race, with 2 bonus points for the driver that has led the most laps. Well, right now that would appear to be Dixon.
Kenny Brack is he's a lap down. He's running pretty quick on the racetrack. He's been running 165 mile an hour laps. Problem is the leader's been running 170 mile an hour laps.
Riding with Thomas Schechter, a youngster from Cape Town, South Africa, who is now living in Indianapolis.
He lost 2 laps on that pit stop, so that was
he's back in 11th position.
Yeah, it was a tough break for him. Again, he got caught in that early. Once he got caught in that early mix-up, it just messed him up for the whole race. And Lady Luck, it just hasn't been kind to him this year.
Well, you would think that it's about time for Lady Luck to smile on Thomas.
Well, we'll see if it's going to.
He'll get on a winning string here, Larry, and rip off 2 or 3 wins in a row. He has that talent. The team certainly has the talent and the equipment. Riding back along with Sam Hornish. So Sam back there in the 5th spot.
Look how quick he's gains on these guys going through the corner. Man, oh man, this looks like they're absolutely stopped coming off the corner. He's running so much faster than they are.
He's back there in 5th position, but still laboring about 10 seconds behind. You pull up behind Giafoni there in the Hollywood car for Mo Nunn, number 21, and Giafoni will see him down there and give him room on the inside.
Well, I'll tell you what, Giafoni didn't give him all that much room. He had to get out of the throttle. That's going to cost him some more.
Well, he didn't get by.
No, he doesn't have the horsepower. He doesn't have the horsepower those guys have. So when they cut him off like that a little bit, he just messed up for a lap. It takes him a whole lap to get his speed back up. So it's a tough break for him.
Well, there's your leader going by Buddy Rice as you go back on board with Sam Hornish on lap 199. Well, the best battle shaping up as you see Hornish finally going by on the high side of Giafoni. He is closing in on DeFerrin, 3 seconds back at DeFerrin, which sounds like a lot, but not the way Hornish has been clipping off these laps on the high side in that high groove.
Yeah, he had caught up. He was actually only about 1.5 seconds behind DeFerrin. He got behind Giafoni, and it took him a couple laps to get around him, so he lost effectively a 1.5 seconds during that little skirmish.
Let's look at Scott Dixon. Scott stands to pick up 52 points here this afternoon in the point standings, 50 for winning and 2 for leading the most laps. Coming in, Scott having won at Homestead was 7th in the point standings.
Well, and I'm sure both Scott Dixon and Tony Kanaan are thinking about the mishap in Japan when they tried to pass each other, and Tony doesn't want to make that mistake again. Tony Kanaan very much in the points lead right now and very conscious that it's better to finish second than not to finish at all.
There's a look at the Robbie Buell entry. It's the Purex Dryer Rundle car that he is part owner in that team, but he goes another lap down. Buell he's back in the 9th position now, 2 laps back. One of the top 6 drivers on the lead lap, and talk about Yasakara, this young man from Los Angeles making a very good showing, leading the Bombardier Rookie of the Year standings.
Yes. Tony Kanaan, meanwhile, has fallen 2 seconds off the pace, so here in the last few laps, as they've gotten to the traffic, Dixon has gotten through the traffic much quicker than Tony Kanaan. When they were in open field, he seemed to be gaining, but now that they've gotten into heavy traffic, Dixon gaining on Kanaan.
There is Schechter in the target car. Now the Dan Weldon Klein entry is between the 2 target cars. Schechter is trying to get the lap back. Schechter actually is 2 laps off the pace, so he's just trying to get 1 lap back here. Maybe right along with Kanaan as he goes to the inside of Buell. Kanaan back there in the 2nd position. This is about 2 seconds behind the leader. There is Scott Dixon. You see those clouds continue to build, but weather does not appear to be a factor here this afternoon. Along with Larry Rice, this is Gary Lee live from Pikes Peak International, where we bring you the last 20, make that 19 laps of this event. It's a 225 lap event. We've gone 206 laps right now.
Dan Weldon, who these guys just went around, he's had all kinds of trouble today, too. He's been off the pace since the word go, and he's really had his share of problems here today. It's funny because he did all the testing for Kanaan and Franchitti. He did the testing out here at Pikes Peak. He told them the setups to use when they got here, and now that he's the one that's having all kinds of problems. The other two running second and third.
Dixon has led twice today, but has led the most of all the drivers. Right now back with Kanaan in second position. Again, he's now going through traffic and is losing ground on Dixon. Dixon enjoying over a 5-second margin.
Yeah, he's behind Greg Ray and just can't get around Greg Ray for whatever reason. And he's losing a lot of ground. Franchitti actually and DeFerrin catching him pretty rapidly.
You have to wonder what if Harnish had not run out of fuel early on.
Yeah, and Harnish has actually slowed down a little bit. He's not running quite as quick now as he was a little bit earlier in the race. So he's not gaining on the leaders nearly as quickly as Dixon is clearly the fastest guy on the racetrack right now.
Harnish back in 5th position. But still, he's only 12 seconds behind your leader, and he lost a whole lot more than that when he came in coasting in a dead stick.
Oh yeah, oh absolutely. Oh, look at this.
Well, he just let his teammate by. I mean, his teammate's 2 laps off the pace.
So he's just let him go around. Yeah, you're right. I thought, boy, as quickly as he pulled out and let him go by, I thought he might have had a problem.
I think Scott's an automatic pilot right now. In the winning laps of this race, 14 laps to go. Now 13 laps to go. I think enjoying about a 5-second lead over Tony Kanaan. He's taking no chances with anybody, including his teammate.
Yeah, they're still fighting. Let's let him get up there and move everybody out of the way, and I'll just follow him through.
Right now, Kanaan back in 2nd position. The margin between 1st and 2nd is almost 6 seconds. So this is Scott Dixon's race to win. He would become the first 2-time winner of the year. It would certainly move him up in the point standings.
Well, if it had not been for that crash in Japan and that bad luck he had at the Indianapolis 500, he would have certainly been right in the points chase. But those 2 incidents certainly took a lot of points out of his pocket.
A long way to go in this racing season.
Yes, we certainly do. And boy, he's catching up with some pretty heavy traffic here, which is not really what he wants to see. He doesn't really want to get up there and take the chance on having to battle these guys real hard with this few laps to go.
Oh, what is this?
Oh, that's Dan Weldon.
He tried to save it. He kept it off the wall. That's going to bring out a yellow and bunch everybody up.
Well, he got up there just in those marbles. He did keep it from hitting the fence, but he couldn't keep it from spinning, and you're right. It will bring out the yellow, and we'll have a trophy dash here for the last 5 laps.
It'll be a very short yellow because they're telling him, hey, we're going to push you out of the way here and get you off the racetrack. We're not going to use a tow rig. Just get it off the track. He got very high, almost had it saved. Then the rear came around on him. Our 3rd yellow of the day. As you see, the pit lane is closed.
He's out. He said, put me behind the wall. I've had enough of this for today.
Well, how is this going to shake out with only a handful of laps to go?
Looking at Roger Yasukawa, who has just got himself into the wall. That's the 4th caution. Yes, I repeat, 4th caution, because we had a 3rd caution just a few moments ago where Dan Weldon spun. It was a very short 3rd caution. We got back under racing, and then Roger Yasukawa, 1 lap into that restart, on lap 220, finds himself up against the wall. Here's the replay of what goes on. We caught it very, very late indeed. Paul Cherry, you have to say this has been an action-packed race meeting, very difficult to follow. Roger Yasukawa walking away there perfectly unscathed, but tricky old racetrack. You said that right at the beginning of the show, and it's proved it, hasn't it?
Yeah, I should think Roger's going to be very disappointed with that. This far into the race, he's had a very, very strong showing. He's been in the front half of the race for the whole evening here, and just to lose it on the restart is a bit disappointing. But he's matured big time in this series, so I think we'll see more of him.
And briefly, Christian, Dan Weldon we saw spin out. Very similar incident there. Found himself up a little bit high, didn't he? And just slid around and almost saved it. He was on it for so long, but it finally got away from him.
Yeah, I mean, the problem is once you get up high, there's all the dust and all the marbles, and I mean, that's the problem. He tried to save it, nearly got it, and unfortunately just lost the rear end, and was actually quite lucky not to spin into the pit wall there.
It's compounding his problems, though, in his head at the moment, I would imagine. Despite the fact he's a very stable young man, and we've already said very mature young man, it's going to be a situation where all these things are going to erode his confidence as every race meeting goes by.
Yeah, I mean, he was a bit off the pace most of this event, and I'm pretty sure that in the actual race that he might have been suffering from some sort of problem because he was unordinarily slow for himself.
Okay, that's Dan Weldon. We're now looking again at the Roger Yasukawa accident, and that was off the restart. Any, since you're our resident driver, any indication of why that might have happened, Christian, as far as Roger's concerned? Because he was running in 6th place and had, as Paul has already said, a brilliant IRL round.
I mean, he was looking really, really strong and driving very well. It was difficult to see because we first actually caught the glimpse of it once he was actually already contacted into the wall. But with a big group of cars all hunched up, it could quite easily be that he just got squeezed up high.
Okay, well, he is our IRL rookie, of course. You can see we are under a yellow. There are pace cars out on the track, so we're not going to be going green for some time. But let's get back to the track for well, a bird's eye view from our trackside commentators live.
But DeFerrin did get by Franchitti when Franchitti got real wide up there. DeFerrin got by him, so DeFerrin's going to end up in 3rd, which is going to help him in the point standings. Franchitti going to finish in 4th. We're being told now that they will finish under yellow. They tried, they couldn't get it done in time, so they will finish the race under yellow. Tough race.
Scott Dixon, the 22-year-old from Auckland, New Zealand, who now resides in Indianapolis, will become the first 2-time winner on this fairly young Indy Racing League IndyCar Series.
Well, you
won at Homestead, and you can see his crew now taking off the helmets, and they're preparing to make the walk to victory lane.
Kanan's crew very disappointed. Dixon's crew very happy that's going to end this way because they didn't want to give Kanan one more shot at him, believe me, because tough break for him, though.
But Kanan, as we said, is focusing on that overall championship, and finishing 2nd every time out will get you some points.
Yeah, it sure will. You saw Michael Andretti standing there, the car owner, him and Kim Green. So those guys, they would like to, they still want to win. They're still competitors at heart, and they want to have their last shot. But as they come by, this time the checkered flag will wave along with the yellow.
You see Kanan pulls up there to congratulate the winner. There's the checkered flag and the yellow flag from Brian Howard. So no great youthful exuberance from the cockpit, because a subdued victory lap because it was under yellow, but a good ride for young Scott Dixon. So he had a great ride from his 6th starting position for his 2nd win of the year. So the 6th race of the year ends under yellow, with Scott Dixon becoming the first 2-time winner. Kanan will finish 2nd for the 2nd straight week. DeFerrin 3rd, then Franchitti. Hornish with a great ride for Sam. That's got to boost that the morale somewhat on that Panther team.
Well, they've got to be looking forward to that test in Chicagoland next weekend, or next week, with that new engine, the new Chevrolet engine that may or may not be a new Chevrolet engine. It's a Cosworth engine that they're going to test, and should things go right, it might become the new Chevrolet.
And that was the Ford Cosworth engine that Ford was developing for the Indy Racing League. They chose, after developing the engine, not to go racing that league, so the engine is sitting there. Now that's an interesting marriage actually between Chevrolet and perhaps Ford.
Right, but it's happened before. If you remember, Ilmore built an engine that they tried to put, get somebody to buy a few years ago, and finally I think it ended up, I'm not sure, I don't want to say because I'm not exactly sure who it ended up with, but they had an engine that was built, and it really didn't have, oh, there we go.
There's an engineering firm building engines, whereas Ford is a manufacturer of cars developing an engine. So there is your new tradition of the past few years in stock car racing in this country and IndyCar racing in this country, doing donuts.
I thought since they drove on the other side, he might do the donuts the other direction, but he didn't. He did the same as everybody else.
He lives in Indianapolis now. He's a Hoosier now.
Okay.
So his 2nd win of the year for 22-year-old Scott Dixon, for Chip Ganassi and Target Racing and the crew down there to greet him. And we will have an interview with Jack Arute in Victory Lane. Of course, in 2 weeks, on Saturday in 2 weeks, we'll be at Richmond International, then Kansas City, Nashville, Michigan. 10 more races to go in this 16-race series, as Victory Lane being built now along the front straightaway there at the start-finish line. So Scott, after starting in 6th position, leads the most laps and takes his 2nd victory of the year here. in the mile-high city of Fountain, Colorado, here at Pikes Peak International Raceway. Scott out of the car, still with the helmet on. We'll be going down to victory lane momentarily with Jack Arute to hear from our winner. As we take a look at the results showing unofficially Scott Dixon over Tony Kanaan for the second straight week. Tony comes home second, but that'll bolster his points lead. Gilles de Fer in third. You take a look at the second and Ilio Krastonevich with some problems late, a late pit stop, unscheduled, finishing in 12th position. Roger Yasukawa had a top 5, top 6 run going till he crashed late in the race. And there you take a look at 19 through 22nd in the unofficial results.
Yeah, tough break for Roger Yasukawa. He did have a very good run going, only to fall out right there at the very, very end. He'd run a very good race up to that point.
And took away what could have been a great finish, another very close finish for the Indy Racing
Yeah, because
League.
Franchitti was in trouble. He'd gotten up high, and it looked like he lost one position. Looked like he might lose one or two more. But when that crash happened, of course, everybody slowed down immediately, and he only lost the one position to Gilles de Fer.
Well, we'll be going down to the victory area momentarily, where Jack Arute will be standing by to talk to our
lap
winner.
than maybe people expected, but it was plenty fast for you, I would think.
Yeah, it was a bit of a shame. You know, it's always nice to have a bit of a race towards the end. I think Tony had a good car, so it would have been close, but I think the best car today was actually Thomas. So I don't know what happened there, but, you know, Team Target did a great job today, and Tuata did also.
Talk to me for a minute, though, Scott, about how much did you have to carry the car? Your weight jacker was, giving you some problems. How difficult was it for you? And I'm not talking about physically, I'm talking about mentally, knowing that, gee, maybe the other shoe's going to drop at any moment.
Yeah, it was a bit of a shame. We've been having a problem with the weight jacker, and it's just hard because when we're in a long run, we can't adjust the car, and it just keeps getting more understeer and more understeer. So, and we'll work on that. But as I said, the guys just did a great job.
And you moved second into points.
Excellent. That's even better.
Gary?
Tony Kanaan is over here. His teammate Dario Franchitti is alongside. And Tony, the question for you, how disappointing is it to have the race end under yellow and not get maybe a last lap opportunity like you did a week ago in Texas, this time to try to overtake Dixon?
Well, that's the way the races are. Unfortunately, the way it did could work for me. I could be in front and that happened. So that's just racing, but I'm a little bit disappointed with a couple things that happened in the race, but what goes around comes around. My teammate did a great job on the way back here. I'm proud of him.
Well, I can't let that go. You're talking about did you feel like you were being blocked by one of the Target Ganassi cars?
You can call that blocking because he wasn't blocking me. He was just ahead of me and holding me up, but that's fine. What goes around comes around. We have 3 cars out there.
All right, now let's ask Dario Franchitti. 10 weeks away from a race car, first time at this track, you end up in a 4th place finish, but you had some words with Gilles de Fer when you got out of the car. Can you tell us what that was about?
Yeah, the last restart I went for the high side, and I got kind of closed out by some of the other guys trying to go to the same place. So I came back down. Gilles was already inside me. I tried to run through turn 1 and 2 side by side with him, but Gilles just drove me up into the grey. He came up and he said he had understeer. I've known Gilles for over 10 years, and I believe him, but it's still frustrating. It doesn't help me. He got 3rd, we got 4th, but I'm happy to be back. The whole Archipelago Motorola guys did a great job, and I'm very, very happy back in the car, and it was a pretty good result today.
Well, the sparkle in the eye and a smile on the face tells us this guy was really excited with that 4th place finish. Congratulations.
Well, of course, Larry, he missed 3 races with that broken back, but there you see that 4th place finish for Dario. Sam Hornish with a tremendous ride with that underpowered Chevrolet in 5th position, and Tora Takagi came back to finish in 6th as you take a look at the famous Pikes Peak with the snow-capped mountain range here. Well, this will be a race that we'll talk about for some time about what if it had stayed green, what if Sam Hornish didn't run out of fuel and make that early pit stop dead stick without the engine running.
Yeah, it would have been interesting, but I truly think that Sam Hornish would have been doing very well to finish in the top 3. I don't think he was not going to finish.
What if we didn't have the problem in the pit area for Scheckter?
Oh yeah, Scheckter. Well, you heard Scott Dixon say he thought his teammate Scheckter might have been the fastest guy on the racetrack, and I don't disagree. Thomas Scheckter was the strongest, and you talked a little bit about it earlier about his racing luck, and if it ever changes, boy, he's going to be tough. But boy, he's had some awful bad luck.
Well, you also heard Tony Kanaan say that he thought maybe Scheckter was holding him up just a little bit. Wasn't blocking, but he was just making it more difficult to pass because Schechter's teammate was leading the race.
Interesting scenario there. Very tense race, not just for us here in the studio. A hard race to follow, I have to say, with the amount of things that have gone on this racetrack. Luckily that we have enough time to work our way through it here. Paul Cherry and Christian Colby with me in the studio. Now let's get straight to the nub of things. Kanaan regarding Scheckter now. Tony Kanaan, when he's in that kind of mood, doesn't look like a guy to be messed with to start with. He said that his team have got 3 cars out there. Was he alluding to the fact that they might... what goes around comes around, but sometimes you can be a little bit more forceful and as you have 3 cars on the track, teammate-wise, get themselves sorted out so they make sure they get payback?
I certainly think that's how it'll plan out, but these guys are professionals. At the end of the day, he's frustrated because he couldn't get a jump on him. At the end of the day, when he sits down and looks at second place, looks at his lead now in the series, he's not even going to give it a second thought. This time, in 2 weeks' time in Richmond, he won't think about it. It'll just be another race. But frustration is there for sure.
And a little bit of frustration. I mean, Dario Franchitti is a man who keeps a lid on a frustration very, very well, I always feel. He's very eloquent, speaks very well. He says he's known Gilles de Ferran for what, 10 years, but he still wasn't happy at being moved up the track a little bit there into the slippery stuff. But a brilliant, brilliant drive. He's only driven these cars 2 times this year before that motorcycle accident up in Scotland while he was out at play, and to come back with still a nagging back injury and drive this well at a track that clearly was catching a lot of people. Christian, a brilliant drive from him.
Oh, he did absolutely fantastic. I mean, I saw him 3 weeks ago at a racetrack, and I mean, he was in good condition, but I mean, he was struggling. I mean, he had to go and sit down a lot, really take it easy, and to think 3 weeks later he's back in a race car. And at Pikes Peak, there's a big bump in turn 3, which is really going to be hurting his back. So to come out, put on a strong show, and be pushing for a top 3, and if there wasn't the Yasukawa accident, he could even have been challenged for overall honours.
Yasukawa, just one more word from you, Paul, on that. Very, very unfortunate today. Had a really good drive.
Yeah, he was right up there in contention, as we said, for most of the race. And I think he just got caught by the circumstances. As Christian said earlier, there was quite a big group there on the restart, and maybe his tyres weren't as warm. He just got on it, he was eager, it's the end of the race. I mean, things happen. But it's his first year at this level, and I think we're going to see a lot more of him.
Scott Dixon, the New Zealander, brilliant drive all the way through again. Target Chip Ganassi, giving him a good car.
Very much so. I mean, Scott... 2001 he won Nazareth, which is one of the hardest tracks of oval tracks to win, and I thought to myself then, when he was not even 21 years of age, this guy's going to go somewhere. And we've seen today, he's only the 2nd time the winner this year, and he's going to catch up on the points big time.
Only 2-time winner. Now then, Sam Hornish, of course. Sam Hornish is a guy this week that has done wonders as far as everyone seems to be concerned, whether it be commentary team at trackside or in here. I don't believe that the Chevy, we heard the commentators say that this track is a leveller, but I'm afraid horsepower is horsepower. The Chevy doesn't have any, but somewhere Sam Hornish was actually putting together some fantastic laps, Christian.
Yeah, I mean, he was doing a really, really good job. We were talking earlier on that, I mean, Pikes Peak is a narrow track, small track, 1 mile, and it's only 2 grooves, but I mean, Sam Hornish seemed to be looking out there, and he found groove 3, groove 4, and was using it all over. And he really made use of having a good race car underneath him, but you could see he struggled a little bit sometimes, just getting that little bit extra to get by the Toyota and Honda power cars.
Sometimes we forget he's the defending champion. It must be quite frustrating for him to have not quite the horsepower that he needs for a 16-round series like this one is nowadays.
No, that's like leaving primary school and going to secondary school. You're suddenly a top dog in one game and you're bottom of it in the next, and as you say, that must be frustrating, which really makes you drive completely differently. But today he's really put on a powerful performance. Certainly Chevy have turned up the wick. Unfortunately they suffered in the fuel mileage, as obviously Sam ran out earlier, and that probably cost him maybe even a podium.
Indeed. Well, while we're talking of podium, Gilles de Ferran finishing up there in 3rd place, running a Dallara. We alluded to it a little bit earlier on, running a Dallara chassis this week. Why?
There's a bit of a rumour going around that the Dallara is the better short oval car. If Chris Tate was with us here this evening, I'm sure he wouldn't believe any of it.
He'll be sitting at home watching you say this.
Of course. But the general consensus is that the G-Force is the much stronger car for the 1.5, 2 and 2.5 mile, and for the 1 mile circuits, perhaps the Dallara has the edge.
Can we talk very quickly about Thomas Scheckter again and his bad luck that he's suffering at the moment? I mean, it seems to be not of his making. I mean, and he's a fiery, fast young fella, but really today's situation with the Giaffone's team, is he ever going to see an end to this, do you feel?
I mean, it's going to be difficult for him. Once you're in a bad rut of luck, it sometimes has a tendency to come at you more, and it sounds like the Andretti Green cars are out to try and give him even more bad luck in the following races. So, I mean, he's going to have a difficult time for it, but he was the fastest guy out there on the lap times, at least, consistently over the laps. He was terribly unlucky to lose that thing in the pit. And once you just get that little break, get on the top of your game and win a race, I'm sure he'll just string a good few results together and he'll be right up there.
While we're on the subject, rewinding back a little bit to Tora Takagi, the situation, he's been served with a probational period by the IRL organisers because of that incident that we had last time round. Do you feel that fair?
I've reviewed the tape along with you, and I have to say it looks a racing incident. When we studied the tape literally segment by segment, Scott Sharp was looking to the right. He did not at any time look left, and Takagi was just in a racing position.
So how does that affect him from now on in? Now he's in this probational period, Christian. I mean, what is he nervous about what's going on around him? Because obviously, it's career-wise, it's something hanging over him.
Yeah, but I mean, at the same time, I think he feels he was an innocent bystander and got caught up in an accident that wasn't really his fault. So I think he'll just go out there and say sorry, but obviously keep going and keep doing what he's doing. But I'm not sure probation is in the Japanese vocabulary.
Okay, well, let's go back to De Ferran as far as his series is concerned. I mean, De Ferran is still in there with a shout at the moment. The Penske team, we've talked about that it's two teams within one that are racing against each other. How's that going to pan out over the series that we've got now from this point in, do you feel?
Well, it's a funny situation because we had, if you remember, almost an identical situation last year. Penske arrived on the scene and everybody said, well, that's it, the championship's over, these guys are going to win it. And Hornish and the Panther team got their head down and proved, above all expectations, that they were the class act. Yes, Roger won the Indy 500, and maybe there was far too much focus on the Indy 500. And look again this year, we've had the same thing. Penske's have not blown everybody away. In fact, other teams, Andretti Green and Target, have just come in and been at the front all the time. Penske going up and down. Maybe the two-team situation is not perhaps the way to go when all these other teams, 3 cars from Andretti Green and 2 cars from Target, are working together.
While we're on the Andretti Green team setup side of things again, Tony Kanaan praising Dan Weldon for setting up his car. This was the first meeting that Kanaan actually got to drive it, Dan Weldon doing all the legwork.
I think what you have to say is poor old Dan got the very thin end of the stick. As Christian was saying to me earlier, Dan went out there, he did 3 days testing, all the cars were running pretty much the setup that he'd come with. Poor guy winds up with the worst scenario in the race, but at the end of the day his team leader is leading the series, and that'll stand him in very good stead within the team.
Indeed it will. Well, another finish here then in the IRL at Pikes Peak International Raceway, and congratulations to our winner tonight, Scott Dixon, even though he had to do it under a yellow. We'll be back in 2 weeks' time with round 7 of the Indy Racing League. That's the SunTrust Indy Challenge from the Richmond International Raceway in Richmond, Virginia. It starts at 1 AM on Sunday morning, that's the 29th of June, and you can join us here on Sky Sports 1 for what promises to be another exciting race. In the meantime, it's thanks to my guests Christian Colby and Paul Cherry, and of course to you for watching. We'll leave you now with some of tonight's action. Good night.
Pikes Peak International Raceway, once again in the shadows of that famous mountain, Pikes Peak, where they've been racing to the clouds since 1916. And there's a look at the upcoming schedule. Richmond in 2 weeks, then Kansas City, Nashville, Brooklyn, Michigan, the 2-mile banked oval, Madison, Wisconsin, Sparta, Kentucky, Nazareth, that little mile track in Pennsylvania, then Joliet, Illinois, Fontana, California, and Fort Worth, Texas will wrap up the season on October the 12th. And again, once I think we have some time that we can show you that full field rundown again. Scott Dixon, Kanaan, DeFerrin, Franchitti, Hornish, and Takagi in the 6th position, and then 7 through 12. And you see Kenny Brack, Thomas Scheckter battled back after some interesting altercations in the pit area. And there's Roger Yasukawa. The crash put him all the way back in 17th position. Greg Ray, a 2-time winner, back in the 18th position. There's Dan Weldon, Fisher, Jacques Lazier, A.J. Foyt, the 4. So A.J.'s cars finished dead last in this afternoon's race.
Yeah, and I still have to give my hats off to Sam Hornish. I think he had the drive of the race. Dario Franchitti did a great job, and of course Scott Dixon.
Well, this has been a presentation of ESPN in association with the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Join us in 2 weeks on Saturday, June 28th from Richmond International Raceway. So our congratulations to Chip Ganassi, the Team Target organization, and Scott Dixon, who picks up his second win of the year. He won the opening race at Homestead, wins under the yellow here today at Pikes Peak. For Larry Rice, I'm Gary Lee. Thanks for joining us. Join us in 2 weeks from Richmond International Raceway. Till then, so long from Pikes Peak International.